Hey, it's Matt here with Peppercoat BBQ. Thanks for stopping by the Peppercoat deck. Today I've loaded up my Old Country BBQ Bits Smokehouse with some meats that I'm prepping for the week, and I want to share with you some fire management tips and tricks. Yeah, it all turned out great. The chicken, the sausages, barbecue bacon, the crab dip. Man, that crab dip was delicious. But this video today is mostly about fire management. So I threw a little bit of B&B oak lump charcoal in here. This is just some leftover charcoal. There's some briquettes in there actually, and see a piece of pecan down there. There's just stuff that was left over. It was in the charcoal basket on the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco from a cook that I did a couple of days ago. I just dumped some of it over here, put a tumbleweed in there, and I'm going to light that up and get us a coal bed going. My go-to in this smoker and in most of my cooks is oak, pecan, and cherry. So I'm going to go ahead and throw an oak split up here to the side. And I like to do that so that split can be drying out, gets the moisture out of it. This pit sits outside, and even though it is covered, when it rains, water comes in from the back. It picks up a lot of moisture. These pieces get damp. We had a storm yesterday, and I can feel that some of them they're a little wet. I know some people will soak their splits or soak little chunks of smoking wood before they put it in the smoker. But to me, that gives off too much smoke. It gives off that white, dirty smoke, and that's not what we're looking for. We want a nice, clean smoke, and we get that clean smoke by burning good, dry splits. Sometimes if I want my fire to get started a little quicker, then I'll just bring my blower out and put a little air in there, a little oxygen. Really gets things stoked up. Also have this meteorite. That's what it looks like. Looks like a meteorite that was in my bag of lump oak. I found this a couple of weeks ago when I was using my Santa Maria grill, and I didn't want to use it there, so I'm just going to throw this in this charcoal basket. We've got a pretty good fire going, so I'm also going to throw in this split we had over here on the side. And I'm going to put another pecan split up here to be warming up. So this fire is going good. I've had both of these doors open. I've had both vents open while the fire is getting started. But now I'm going to go ahead and close this down. I am not going to use my water pan today. So I'm just taking it out and lined it with aluminum foil. And I'm going to set it back in here just so it works as a drip pan. Using the water pan is up to you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Usually around the 3-hour mark, if I'm going to be cooking more than 3 hours, if I'm doing a butt, or if you were going to be doing a brisket or something of that nature, then you would probably definitely want to use the water pan to keep moisture in the chamber. Chicken, that's kind of the borderline. That's about 3 hours for a whole chicken. I'm going to have some other things on here today also that have a lot of fat content. I'm going to throw some bacon in here. We're going to have a cast iron skillet that's going to be that'll have a crab dip in it, which has a lot of sour cream, a lot of other liquids, which will help put moisture into the chamber, and some sausages. So I chose not to use the drip pan on this cook, but that's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to close this, leave both of these top vents open for now, the stacks all the way open, and we're going to let our temperature get up. The goal today is about 300 degrees. It's been 1 hour since we lit the fire, about 30 minutes since we threw the splits on. You can see our temperature now on our bottom gauge is sitting just over 300. And here at the top gauge, we are just below 300. And we have a nice clean smoke. And so we're going to go ahead and get our chicken on. I'm going to put this chicken on our middle shelf. And basically, I'm letting this chicken dictate this cook. You can see where I'm putting the chicken here on the middle shelf over to the right-hand side. And so with this smoker, you have to be careful because you do get more heat coming up around the sides. But I have my fire built on the left-hand side, so we'll have more heat coming up over here. This kind of protects our chicken from the most heat. So what I mean by letting the chicken dictate the cook today, anytime that you have multiple items in the smoker or on a grill, there's always going to be one item that's going to dictate the temperature of that cook. And today that's the chicken, because I know that chicken needs to be at 300 plus degrees so that skin will render out and be crispy, because we don't want the rubbery skin on the chicken. I don't want to go much over 300 degrees because I use the Uncle Dave's barbecue seasoning on there for a rub, and it's great seasoning. It has just a little bit of brown sugar in it, and if we get much over 300 degrees, then you run a risk of that brown sugar caramelizing and becoming bitter. So we're going to work around that 300 degree temperature today to achieve both of those goals. Everything else is a workaround. So I'm going to throw some bacon and some sausages on there, and usually I would do those 225 to 275, but today they're just going to cook a little faster. We'll just have to keep an eye on the bacon. And then for the crab dip, usually you would do that between 325 and 350. Today it'll just take a little bit longer at 300. So the chicken rules the roost today. So we just put our chicken on. You can see here that we are still going good with that split and that large piece of lump that was in there. So I'm not going to add anything else right now. Those, like I said, have been in there for about 30 minutes. You will see that the bottom thermometer here is running around looks like around 305, 310. And the top has dropped down to about 275. But that's still going to give us around an average of 300 in the middle where our chicken is. Still running a nice clean smoke. We have our dampers at the bottom, the intakes all the way open. I think one of the biggest questions when running a smoker, whether offset, a cabinet, even a drum smoker, is about the vents. And should the intake and the exhaust be all the way open? How much should you close them off? And I think it really depends on how much airflow you want to get through the chamber. It depends on the smoker itself. And for this one, I have two very large stacks up here. And so they draw a ton of air through the smoker. And you can see that that smoke is crystal clear. It is clean. And so I'm going to go ahead and close one of these down. For one, I don't need that much airflow coming through the chamber. If you're trying to crisp up skin, if you're running a lot of airflow and you want that crispy skin on the chicken, or if you're trying to get the heat up, then you're probably going to leave them open. But since I have no water pan, I want to keep a little moisture in the chamber. I want to slow down the airflow just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and close off one side. We'll go ahead and check the fire. This split's getting burned down pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and throw this pecan split on there, and we'll put another piece of oak up here to the side to be drying out. Now I'm going to close these dampers down about halfway, and that's really going to restrict our airflow, and we'll see what it does to our temperature. It's been another 30 minutes since we made our adjustments on our exhaust and our intake. We added that last split, and you can see that we have a nice clean fire here. Upper temperature is right at 300 degrees, and then on the lower one, we're setting just over 300 degrees. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that chicken, and then we're going to throw on the bacon and the sausage. The chicken is looking nice. We can see that smoke in the light coming up through the exhaust. I'm going to put these 3 sausages right here beside the chicken on our middle rack. And then the bacon, I'm going to leave in this pan. The only reason I'm leaving this bacon in the pan is so that these outside ends don't get crispy while the middle of the bacon is still trying to render. If it wasn't for that, then I would leave it outside the pan, which would allow that bacon grease to drip down over the chicken and would probably help keep it moist and crisp that skin at the same time. It's been 35 minutes. You can see we're still running a nice clean smoke. The pit average temp has dropped down to around 275. So we're going to add another split. I just wanted to check in, see how everything was looking. And that chicken is looking absolutely great. I can feel that skin's tightening up, so I know that's rendering out. Sausages are looking good. I may go ahead and roll those over before I close the door, and then we'll put some more splits on. So you can see this last split is burned down. Not much left there. Most of what's in here now has burned into coals, and a lot of it's smaller. It's falling through. So I'm going to go ahead and put this other split in. I'm going to throw another one up here to the side to be heating up. But I think right now, without running a water pan in here, 1 split at a time is enough. If we were running the water pan, then we may have to keep 2 splits in there occasionally just to keep that temperature to 300. But we did fall down a little bit, but this is going to pick it right back up. It's been about 20 minutes since we put those last splits on. And here is the unfortunate part of cooking multiple meats at one time and trying to do other things. These sausages are overdone. This one, the casing's already split, but that's all right. These are just going to be lunch for me this week. I'm going to rub some Sweet Baby Ray's honey chipotle barbecue sauce on this bacon. Then I'm going to give it a flip and put it back in the smoker for not long, maybe another 20 minutes or something on this, and it's going to be done enough for me. I'm going to move this bacon down here on the bottom to finish off. And then I'm going to bring my crab dip out and put it right here beside the chicken. Temperature on that bottom rack's dropped down to around 300 degrees. The top's down to about 265. So we're going to go ahead and throw on another split. This will probably be our last one, and then we're going to get the bacon off and move the crab dip down. A few final thoughts here on fire management. Anytime that you are running a live fire, you're going to have much better result if you have some type of a fire management basket to keep your splits together. If you just let your coals run around everywhere out here, then you're going to lose a lot of heat. So make sure to get you a fire management basket. Keep a close watch on it. Even when your coals get burnt down, if you're in the house, you're busy doing something else, you come back out. If you have a good fire management basket, you can lay a split on top of those coals and it's going to take off. And you can see how quickly this takes off with the door open. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down because it's getting hot right here. So we just added that last split. You can see that our smoke, when we left that door open for a few minutes, and it let it get plenty of oxygen and take off. The smoke's burning nice and clean. You don't have any of that dirty smoke. It's been 20 minutes since we basted the barbecue sauce on the bacon, and that's looking pretty good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Our crab dip is starting to brown, but I want to move it down here to the bottom rack because I know the bottom rack is the hottest. I'm going to try to turn this around a little bit so I can get to it easier. So we started our fire. It took about an hour to get up to temp. We've had our chicken on for 3 hours. You can see we're still running this nice clean smoke. We stuck with that one stack closed, one all the way open. And then our vents down here are still about halfway open on the intake. And that's held us pretty good around the 300 degree mark. You see there on the bottom rack is just at 300. Here we're about probably around 285, 290. And I think that the chicken is probably ready to come off now. See that? And it's got a beautiful color on there. That Uncle Dave's barbecue seasoning we put on there. And then having just the right amount of convection running through here. Let's check the temp and then we'll pull it up. All right, so I want to get down in here in this breast, and we're showing 166, and that is just, that's perfect right there. That's what we're looking for over here. I just hit the bone there. So right next to the bone in the dark meat, we're showing 176, and that's good. You can get up higher in your dark meat. Usually can go up to 185. But if you're interested in one of these ThermoPro Lightnings, I'll leave a link for those in the description and a discount code. You can get 15% off. And then right here's our crab dip. I'm just going to rotate it around one turn, and we'll leave it about another 30 minutes. I'm getting ready to pull the crab dip. That's the last thing that we had in the smoker for today. But basic things to remember is your intake and your exhaust, being able to control those. If you want more airflow, then leave that exhaust wide open if you're trying to build bark or crisp up some skin on some chicken. If you want less airflow, then close the exhaust and adjust your intakes. For the intake, that's what really I use to adjust my temperature the most as far as getting a nice clean smoke. If you're getting a white smoke coming out, then you need to let more oxygen come into the pit. And you may even need to open the door for a few minutes and let it get started good before you start closing it down. But just keep an eye on your smoke and look at the color of that smoke, and that's going to tell you all you need to know. And I'll see you next time on Peppercoat Barbecue.